This is the Multi-Orgasmic Millionaire Podcast, the only sex podcast for 7- and 8-figure conscious leaders who want to embody their pleasure and have the best sex of their lives. I'm Tilly Storm, top 20 sex coach in the world, and your host today. Hello there, it's Tilly Storm, and today we get to talk about embracing your erotic side, a journey to finding safety and confidence in your sexuality. If you're a woman, then I bet you are carrying a lot of fear around either being fully sexy or being fully seen in your sexiness. It's pretty inherent because, like if you walk around and you let yourself be fully sexual and be fully seen in your sexiness, then what has history shown us? That oftentimes that ain't safe. So how in the world do you build safety within your system to allow yourself to be fully sexual and to feel confident in your sexiness so that you can allow yourself to be seen in your sexiness? Well, that is an inward journey that so many women strive to go on, yet they don't know how to bring that into their experience and it become an actual reality. So the first thing I want to ask you is, on a scale of 1 to 10, right now, I want you to tune into yourself, where 0 is not sexy at all. I don't allow myself to be sexy at all. And 10 is I allow myself to be fully sexual. Where are you at on that scale of 1 to 10? So really just tuning in right now. Do you allow yourself to be sexual at a level 4, maybe a level 5.5, maybe a level 9, whatever that number is, just noticing that right now, in this moment, you're embodying your sexiness at that level. And just notice what that actually feels like inside to only allow yourself to be fully sexual at whatever your number was. What comes up for you? What do you feel? Maybe there's a sense of sadness. Maybe there's a sense of remorse of like, damn, that really sucks. Like, I've got all this sexiness inside of me that I know I could be expressing, yet I don't, because I don't have the ecological support of safety to support my sexual blossoming, to be fully sexual, to be fully seen as a sexual being. And although it's not your fault, you did what you had to do to survive and to make sure you were safe, right? And a lot of times women who lack desire, or women who don't let themselves dress sexual or don't let themselves fully embody all of their sexiness. And by the way, there's so many different flavors of sexy. Dressing sexy doesn't mean wearing lingerie all the time. It doesn't mean wearing certain things, right? So how much do you allow yourself to be sexual is based on a lot of our conditioning, a lot of what happened in the past that taught us that being sexual might not be safe, or it might not mean that we would belong in our family of origin and our community, or it might mean, or it might have meant that we would not get loved if we showed up that way, right? Like when you were a teenager and you were sneaking past your mom to go out with your friends and you were wearing a mini skirt and some high heels and you didn't want her to see, and then she saw you anyway, she might have shamed you for wearing clothes like that. And then you internalize the message, oh, it's not safe to dress sexy. I'm not going to get loved if I dress like that. My mom won't love me if I dress slutty, or my mom won't love me if I dress like a sexual person. So whatever happened to you in the past is generally the blueprint that you are currently operating on. Yet the thing is that these are outdated blueprints. And it's time to go in and imprint a new sense of safety, to create an ecological support of safety for your sexuality to fully thrive. So how do you do that? Well, you start by turning up the level of sexiness one by one until you feel that you can maintain that level of sexiness and still be safe. For example, if when I asked you the question at the beginning of this episode, on a scale of 1 to 10, how sexy do you let yourself be? How sexual do you let yourself be? If you only answered a 5.5, then I want you to notice what happens if you turn up your internal dial, if you were to give yourself permission at one more level, not all the way to a 10, okay? Because that would be too much for your system and it wouldn't feel real anyway. You have to go step by step through this, okay? One step forward, right? We don't need to take a huge leap because then our nervous system can't support that huge leap. So taking one step from a 5.5 to a 6.5, what would it be like if you turned up your dial of being sexual and being sexy from a 5.5 to a 6.5? What happens inside when you do that? So you can do that now, like literally turning up that internal dial and giving yourself permission to be sexual at one level higher than you normally let yourself be. What happens? So just noticing if you experience some resistance coming up, if you experience resistance to feeling safe at that level, especially if you've experienced sexual violence or abuse or trauma. So yes, it's unsafe to be alone in a parking lot with no lights and, out late at night and, being sexy at a level 10. Obviously, you have the power to turn up that dial up and down, okay? Depending on the situation. So what tends to happen with women who don't allow themselves to be fully sexual is that they don't recognize that they have the power to turn that up at will. That they think that, well, in all situations, it must be true that I can't be fully sexual or else something bad will happen to me, right? I'll get some unwanted comments or someone will make a move on me that I didn't want them to, right? So it's not that you turn up the dial and then you have to stay there all the time. It just means that you are practicing being conscious of how much you turn up that dial of being fully sexual, and knowing that you can also dial it down in a situation where it's not appropriate to allow yourself to be fully sexual. So just keep noticing that you have the power to do this. So in what environments do you feel that it is safe to be fully sexual and to up-level your level of sexiness? Is it safe to be sexy at your up-leveled number in the privacy of your own bedroom? Well, what about with your partner? Well, so those situations, it is probably very safe for you to turn up the dial as much as possible, one step at a time. And what's important about this process is that you don't go from a 2 to a 10 all in one fell swoop, right? So what you want to do is just take one step, give it a week or two, noticing how much more sexual can you allow yourself to be and still feel safe. Okay, so you can allow yourself to be sexual, but will you still feel safe being that way? If the answer is no, then you've gone too far and you need to dial it down some and still maintain the safety. Okay. So I want you to know too, that if you have a history of repressing your sexuality, this can lead to you being less present, more shut down, not wanting to try new things, feeling shy or embarrassed around your sexuality. And if that's the case for you, then it might feel that showing up fully present and connected to your sexuality feels less safe than actually experiencing presence and connection to your sexuality. I know it sounds kind of backwards, but it is based on what you're used to, right? So our bodies don't always react to what makes sense. They react to what we've learned is safe. So if you not showing up fully sexual, if you showing up repressing and shutting yourself down, if that means that you stay safe, then repression is going to feel safe to you. Yet there's a part of you that's like, but wait, I don't want to be repressed. So it's siding with that part of you that doesn't want to be repressed anymore and showing your deep body mind and your unconscious brain that, okay, yeah, it might feel safer to us to stay repressed, but there's a part of us that wants to rise above that and experience safety and being fully sexual. So now that we have talked about what it takes to show up and turn up that dial on your sexiness so you can feel confident and fully embrace your erotic, sexy nature, let's talk about being seen. This is another problem that women tend to have around their sexuality and feeling that they can fully express themselves is in their sexual expression itself. So if your issue has more to do with being seen in your sexiness and less about experiencing yourself as a sexual woman who feels sexual and who has lust and who dresses sexy, there might be something inside of you that doesn't feel safe to be seen in that. Maybe it means that you get called a whore or a slut, or that you're selfish, or that you're responsible for other people's reactions to you, or you might make other women jealous, or your partner might think that you're a slut. Whatever it is, being seen as a sexual woman can terrify the shit out of some people. I know for me, that has been more of a thing I've had to deal with than allowing myself to just be sexual. I feel safer being sexual than being seen as sexual. And a lot of it had to do with being a mother. So that's a really big piece that being seen as a sexual woman and being a mother, those two things are so taboo that the body mind often can't even process. It's like, wait, what? We can be a mom and be seen as a sexual person? Huh? It doesn't even compute, right? So if this is your problem, feeling safe to be seen, you're going to go through the same process of, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how safe does it feel to you right now to be seen as a sexual woman? And just noticing what the number is and then turning up the permission and the dial of safety to be seen as sexual. So noticing what happens, what do you feel and experience inside as you turn up the dial step by step. So if you only feel safe being seen at a 2, obviously you don't go to 10, you go from a 2 to a 3. Or if that doesn't even feel possible and to still feel safe and be seen, you go from a 2 to a 2.2, or whatever small little step you got to take to maintain the ecological support of safety and being seen as sexual. All right, so if you still struggle with letting yourself be seen in your sexiness, you might still think that if you repress your sexiness, other women might not judge you, or your partner won't be intimidated, or you won't be too much for them. Well, what are the repercussions of that? Will you lose your connection to your erotic nature? Will you lose your sense of self? Will you lose this mojo that you've been blessed with? Will you lose this sense of being fully alive and showing up to the fullest extent that you can in this life? So maybe that loss isn't worth feeling more comfortable knowing that your partner can handle you the way that you are now, right? Maybe that loss isn't worth worrying about whether other women are jealous of you or not. Maybe that isn't worth, just not living life to the fullest for you. So just noticing and deciding for yourself, what is it worth to me to continue to only let myself be sexual or to be fully seen as sexual at this level? And is it worth it to me anymore to continue living that way? Or am I going to give myself permission to up that dial of being fully sexual and being seen as sexual? All right, my loves. So this is a very simple process that you can try on your own. And if you're still struggling with feeling safe to be sexual and showing up confidently in all of your sexiness and being fully seen in your sexiness, then I want to encourage you to actually take actions in a way that support your sense of safety being in your body as a sexual woman. And what do I mean by that? I mean, go learn some martial arts, okay? Go learn some martial arts, go learn some jiu-jitsu, go take a self-defense class, go learn some boxing. I don't know what really calls to you, whatever it is, but if you really struggle with this, feeling that you can allow yourself to show up as a sexual woman, then it really boils down to you have a deep fear inside that you can't hold your own, that you don't know the power of your body, that you have this fear that you're going to be taken over. And doing martial arts, anything like that, taking a self-defense class will help you to connect to the power within your body to fucking fight someone if you have to fight a motherfucker if you needed to, right? To give you that sense of empowerment in your body. So know that that's always an option too if you're still continuing to struggle with this. So thank you so much for joining me today and learning all about how to embrace your erotic side and finding a sense of safety and confidence in your sexuality. I hope this serves you. If you want more of where that came from, go download my 5 days to epic sex and pleasure for high achieving women audio training at the link in the show notes. And I'm excited to talk to you next week. All right, bye. Hey there, conscious leader. Are you serious about up-leveling your sex life and relationship right now? Then you are in luck, because if you have been on the personal growth and development path for some time now, maybe you've been to therapy, or maybe you're even a coach, a healer, an entrepreneur, or a therapist yourself, and you're wanting to embody your pleasure more deeply and become a multi-orgasmic millionaire yourself, then I want to invite you to a 1-hour complimentary pleasure assessment call with me that you can book at the link in the show notes or at bit.ly, that's bit.ly/pleasure assessment. In the pleasure assessment call, I'm going to take a full diagnosis of your present moment and past experiences with sexuality and relationships. And then we'll dive into your top goals and desires for these areas of your life. From there, I'll be able to give you your top 2 to 5 blocks and obstacles in the way of you creating these goals and desires, and give you the exact next steps that you get to take to overcome them and that you must take to overcome them. I have done over 700 of these calls, so there is literally nothing I have not heard. I know it can be hard to talk about these things and to crack the door open on your sexuality and talk about it, so that's why I want you to feel as comfortable as possible to open up and share with me. This is a private call, it's just you and I. So if you're someone who wants to feel more confident and sexy in your body, to tap into your feminine energy and bring that into your business, to increase your sexual desire and drive, to get out of your head into your body, to learn how to manifest with your sexual energy, to have mind-blowing orgasms in different ways, or maybe just to reignite the spark with your long-term partner, then book your complimentary pleasure assessment call with me today at the link in the show notes or at bit.ly, that's bit.ly/pleasure assessment. I'll see you there.